Hello, my dear friends. Best greetings from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. My name is Victor Fursov. I'm a research entomologist, beekeeper, and teacher. I'm a research entomologist. I'm working at the Institute of Zoology of National Academy of Sciences in Kyiv, Ukraine. And I'm also beekeeper. And today I found very interesting idea to talk about because I recognize that some people in the internet are talking about different beehives, different frames, different innovational beehives, very creative beehives, effective beehives, productive beehives. Yes, so as some beekeepers talking in Ukraine that not beehive is feeding you, not beehive is giving you honey, but honeybees are producing honey. Honeybees are responsible for producing honey, and beekeeper is taking the honey out from honeybees. But nevertheless, in apiary, in special production, which is done by beekeeper or in beekeeping farm, beekeeper is taking care about honeybees, still not domesticated animals, not domesticated insects, but still attracted to apiary, special farm. And beehive is very important for production of bee honey. And today I'm going to tell you about Ukrainian effective beehive, which was created by Ukrainian beekeeper Vasyl Priyatelenko. I have already shown different stories about this beehive, which I recorded in apiary, but now it is winter time. So I use this opportunity in winter time just to tell more, okay, in laboratory condition, in my home condition, about beehive, about honeybees, how they can live in very convenient, very suitable, like a natural beehive, which is very close to construction of a natural colony, a natural nest in hollow tree. So it's quite difficult to reconstruct the nest in a hollow tree. It's much easier to go to the forest, find just a hollow tree, and just search inside and find, oh, this is natural nest of a feral bees, which escaped maybe before from beekeeper and just living somewhere in a hollow tree, or just to make a special nest from the stem of a tree and put it on a tree. And you say this is a natural beehive for honeybees. But nevertheless, some beekeepers, especially Ukrainian beekeepers, are very constructive, very innovative, and Vasyl Priyatelenko, who is living near Kyiv, this is his publication in two languages, in Ukrainian and in English. We presented it at International Beekeeping Congress in Kyiv, okay, nearly 9 years ago, in 2013. It was Apimonde National Congress about beekeeping technology. So we presented this beehive. But what's interesting in this beehive? In this beehive, there is interest in everything, because this is a construction which looks like the normal beehive is, but has a lot of different changes and modifications. So this is beehive healthy, effective, productive, and quite interesting because different construction of a frame. What's the frame? Okay, let's start to discuss, and I will show you how this beehive looks like in apiary. Yes, I will show you some stories in apiary, and later I will show you the construction in my hands to explain you just step by step. Yes, this is apiary Vasyl Priyatelenko. It was some years ago. This video was recorded, not now, because we know in Ukraine there is a wartime, not so easy to attend all areas and just to discuss about beekeeping. So far, so good. But his apiary is fortunately safe now. But this is a way how he is taking care about his beehives in the winter time. He doesn't put them just under the ground inside the house or for special storage. he's keeping them outside and sometimes covering them with plastic. So here we met just to talk about the construction of beehive, so I will not repeat it this video, so you can find this video explanation in English, what I'm talking about step by step about details. But now today I will explain these details in separate in this special video. And okay, let's move from the winter time, springtime, to the summertime. And these are apiary in the summertime. You see very nicely colorated in colors of Ukrainian flag. And this is two different construction of beehives. You see, one is a little bit narrow and one is wider. And again narrow. Beehive, and beehive is constructed here. Is consisted of 2 stories, but original it's necessary to maintain beehive of 3 stories. So here, for smaller family, beehive is consisted of 2 stories. And the most important part of the beehive is a basic part, just down part, down story, which is considered as a brood story. Here, in a brood story, this is a part where brood is developing, and the upper side, this is for collecting honey. So here, honey chamber. So upper side, honey chamber. And in full construction, three stories, it's necessary to put 1 small story as the first one, and then just second brood story, and then chamber and honey chamber on the top. And you see, I can show you a little bit more quickly. Here again, this video. Okay, I show this frame. The frame is taller than broad. You see, taller than broad. So it can be called as a narrow deep frame. Narrow deep frame. Narrow deep frame. And inside this beehive, there are 8 of these frames in a brood story. 8 of these frames and 8 frames on the top in a honey story. But you see, this is this frames from the upper side, from upper story, from honey story, and shape is quadrate. But the most important part I show you, it's not visible here, but I show you later. And you see here, also again, 8 frames are consisting inside the honey story, and the positioning is a cross position. It's very important part how to put all these frames inside the beehive. They must be in cross position. Down part and upper side, they're all in cross position, and there is no bee space between both stories, upper story and down story. So there are 8 points which are just covered with wax, but they're touching each other. Each frame is touching with the down frame without bee space, and it's very important. In this construction, without bee space, it's constructed as a mutual nest. There is no distance between stories, so honeybees can move from a down story to the upper honey story easily, and making the whole mutual construction. This is the most important part. You can say it will be difficult to deconstruct beehive to take off upper story from the down story. No, it's quite easy. It sounds like, it looks like they will be united strongly, but in reality they are connected only at 8 points between 8 frames in down part and 8 frames on upper side. So each is connected only in 8 points, and it's quite easily can be disconnected. And the most important part you see here is try to show this is top bar. Frame is considered of end bar and top bar. So top bar is metallic. I will show it just after my video on close distance, and will explain it why. So you see here, top bar not wooden, but like in normal, like in a common frame. In a common frame, top bar is wooden. You see, wooden top bar, and end bar also wooden, and side bars also wooden, and here just wired. So, but frames are standing one on another. So, and this is the most important part. What does it mean? Let's watch more detailed explanation in our presentation about innovative beehive, 3-story beehive, Ukrainian beekeeper Vasyl Priyatelenko, and I will show you some details. Yes, this is an old story of beehives in logs, in wild nests, just in some hollow trees and scaps and so on. There are many different variations have been presented in Ukrainian beekeeping factories during the past 2 centuries, by the way. Different beehives of different, this is Langstroth beehive, Dadan beehive, with a little bit improved Dadan beehive, but still the construction is still nearly the same. And the first beehive with frames is considered to be beehive of Petro Prokopovich in 1814. Reconstruction is presented in some museums, and also some beekeepers were just as enthusiasts. They can make just a reconstructed beehive of Petro Prokopovich. Different constructions are presented in Ukrainian Institute of Beekeeping in Kyiv, and these videos, these photos are from the museum, just outside of the museum. What is important in beekeeping technology? Construction simplicity, cost of equipment, labor cost, health of honeybee colonies, and profit. What's about the construction of Vasyl Priyatelenko beehive, who modified frame and who modified the construction of a beehive? So let's watch. So you see here, on the right side, 3-story beehive, on the middle, 2-story beehive, and 1-story beehive. It depends from the start, from the size of a colony. In the 3-story beehives, there are 8 frames, 12 frames, and 8 frames all together, and with just one brood story consisted of 12 frames. This is beehive with wide frames, with wide shallow frames, like that. Wide shallow frames, 1-story beehive. And these are beehives in summer of 2014, because this presentation was done for conference. And here again, just some beehives are standing just under the roof to avoid in the shadow. So you see here the construction all together, again in 3-story beehive, 8 in the upper story, in a brood story 12 because they are standing and down story again 8 frames. So frames are different, and you see here this narrow deep frame is considered to be construction of Ukrainian deep frame, which is quite useful for overwintering honeybees. Using this construction is very important, very useful in the central part of frame. And you can say there are several modifications, there are several secrets of this modification. What does it mean? Especially this, the most important part, this is N-shaped top frame. Modification, this is movable. Okay, here I show you just the down part of a beehive with just down part, which is movable floorboard, which can be open, and just some pieces can be removed, especially combs with a drawn brood. And here you see again cross positioning of frames. One small modification, but very important one, which is used now by many beekeepers. This is used for inner cover of an upper story. It's used plastic sheet over all frames, and then it's used special metallic plate on plastic sheet just to reduce heating during the summertime. So you see here metallic top bars and shaped metallic top bars in upper story and plastic sheet over the frames. And here just open metallic plate with some small lines that was done from wax by honeybees. And here just only plastic. But then after plastic must be or could be used or must be used metallic iron sheet to reduce heating of beehive at summertime. And you can see here there is some kind of a small condensation of water, which is not dangerous and useful because it's propolized water, and this water is used by honeybees easily. And the most important modification, this is modified frame with N-shaped top bar. This is special profile, N-shaped. This one, 8 millimeters on 8 millimeters. So Honey Super with 8 frames. On the upper side, covered little bit with wax, but it's no problem because upper side also just covered with plastic, which can be easily detached. So you see here two different type of frames. One is a narrow tall frame, this one, narrow with size 8 with big size, and here smaller narrow white shallow and white shallow frame. But especially must be important to pay attention to the metallic top bars. You see here metallic top bars for both frames, which is used. And their positioning is here like that, in cross positioning. Metallic top bar on the top, then a wooden end bars on both sides and the down. And this is the most important. This is crosswise positioning on frames in hive bodies. You see here indication on video, and here I can show you the down part. There are 8 frames with shallow wide frames, this one, and 12 of this one, narrow deep. Again here, on the right side, shallow wide and narrow deep. And modification, which is important, all these frames were standing on each other like that. They're standing on each other without bee space, It's in common beehives, 2 stories were just disconnected with certain distance, about 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, but here they're standing on each other, at least maybe 2-3 millimeters between, or 2-4 millimeters between frames. Again, here we see cross positioning without bee space. 12 point, you can see only 12 points between frames. And what's about modified beekeeping technology? Here again, we see 1-story beehive. This is with 12 frames, and again with 12 frames and 4 frames. And after development of a brood in a brood section, these frames are used for brood section. It's important to remove down part and put it on the top. Central beehive, central body beehive, central body of the beehive. This is narrow deep frames, 12 narrow deep frames. And there are special small quadrate frames which are used for 3-story beehive. Well, this is quadrate frames. And they are used to put on the top of a story beehive, or a brood chamber beehive. So like that. So you see all frames and all 3 parts of a beehive, they're in cross positioning. Just now I will show you them in details. But we can say about advantages. Advantages are the following. This is a reduction of cost of management for beehive and apiary. Regular reorganization of comb in all beehives are not necessary. Quite significant to increase resistance honeybees. Bee colony develop in a more dynamic way. A reduction of honeybee swarming activity, guaranteed successful overwintering bee colonies, and increased bee harvest. So this quite precisely we can say about simplicity of construction, a reasonable price, low beekeeper labor costs, good health of bee colonies, dynamic development of honeybee colonies, and high production of beehives. And what are the reasons of these advantages? What are the reasons of these advantages? Because this is both, we consider that both construction of the conditions with the beehive are close to the perfect and more natural condition for development of a bee colony. And the bees are allowed to use their biological potential much more efficiently in this construction, because this is whole united colony in all 2 or 3 stories altogether. And in my last slides, I show you Vasyl Priyatelenko on my basic video during the harvesting of honey in August time, 2 times for sure, in June and in August. So this is again this part. This is narrow deep frame full of honey. And here the summer of 2013, also with another type of frame, but also full of honey. And here, because the upper chamber with modified frames, upper chamber can be used with this frame or with this frame, and this frame is now in 2014. These frames are full of honey. Were full of honey on slides. And after slides, I show you here again effective harvesting of honey from beehives of Vasyl Priyatelenko with this construction, especially with this construction of brood chamber. And here is just a small part of an apiary in summer 2014 near Kyiv, Ukraine. And of course, I would say that I should say that publications about it are available in 2 different languages, in English and in Ukrainian. We published also several papers with detailed description of this beehive at several conferences, in Apimondia and in Apislavia conferences. Of course, in Ukrainian as well, not only in English. In some journals like Beekeeper quarterly journal in United Kingdom, we published several papers with descriptions of biological features and construction of a beehive. And the construction was patented, received patent in Ukraine. And here just this picture about construction of beehive. This paper was named Modified Construction of Beehive, 3-story beehive with special frames. Special frames because they have this special metallic construction of top bar. All top bars are metallic constructed and shaped. So this is special, very different technology of beekeeping. We're using this type of a beehive and construction of a top bar of beekeeping of frames. And also this construction was presented in Apimondia in Kyiv, then in Apislavia in Turkish Republic, in Apislavia in South Korea. This is a Kyiv meeting with some famous beekeepers after presentations and during the exposition. Again, meeting in Apimondia in Kyiv with colleagues from France and from Kazakhstan. And here some contacts if you are interested in this construction, so you can use either my email or just email of Vasyl Priyatelenko himself. So you can write some questions precisely for him. And these slides were presented in Apislavia Congress in Turkish Republic. Okay, so these are explanation about beehive on video, and now I show you precisely just in front of the camera the construction of these frames, so you may be surprised for sure because frames are different. This is a normal frame. This is normal frame, end bar and top bar. So this is size 435 and on 230. So which I used usually in honey chamber as well. And here this bigger one for 435 on 300, also quite commonly used by beekeepers in Ukraine. So I got it from a beekeeping market. And again, you see here, all top bars are wooden. All top bars are wooden. And for honey chamber, sometimes used this type of frame, semi-frame, half size of frame, for just for collecting honey, because for in this construction of frame, honeybees, it's easy to collect here honey. Okay, here just only white frame, but this is for chamber. But in ordinary, let's say, in ordinary beehive, all frames are standing like this with some distance between them. This is upper chamber, and here just down chamber. Whereas because they're in two different stories, so all this will be with separation, and this separation is important and just for beekeeper. It's easier for removal of different chambers and easier for construction of two chambers. But for honeybees, they do not like this separation, and also you see all they are just parallel. Upper side, upper chamber, and down chamber were in parallel position. And of course, all frames are wired, here wired, because it's used for wax foundation. But here again, I show you, this is a upper bar, top bar, this top bar, wooden. And now let's watch the difference. First of all, this type of a frame, which is used in many cases in wooden, in Ukrainian ordinary beehives, but only with wooden frame, wooden top frame. But this is a new construction, narrow deep, with size. Let's talk about size. 275, 200, 280, 280, 280 on 400, 280, 400. This is the size. 280, 400. This is the size. Yes. So in some cases, as I said, ordinary Ukrainian beehive has the same with this kind of positioning, but again with wooden top bar. Here, metallic top bar. Okay. And the most important positioning of all frames in a beehive, which has 3 chambers. Down chamber is down, okay, like that. Then middle chamber, which is brood chamber, this one. Here will be 12 frames in one chamber, 12 frames, and on the top will be again either chamber with this size or big size, if a lot of flowers and just you're expecting a good harvest. So either big size, like this, 8 frames here, again in crossed positioning, or this is down part, middle part, and on the top will be used quadrate frames, like this, again in cross positioning. All 3 parts of beehive, we have cross positioning of frames, and without bee space between chambers, So how it looks like. Or I can put it like this, or like this. Okay, it looks like this. What's the second one? So you see here. So we're just in cross positioning. And on the top is used just a plastic for covering without bee space again on the top. Top must be covered with plastic again. Here this is a upper chamber, which honey chamber. Here will be plastic over these 8 frames, and again metallic sheet on the top. So this is plastic and metallic sheet for cooling beehive. So this is a construction, total construction. Try to show you to disconnect, don't destroy and disconnect it. Again, like this. How to show? We're a little bit heavy. Like this. You see. Here cross positioning and down. And here again cross positioning. You see. Or I can use smaller one. This one. Again cross position. Okay. Of course, I can show you how it looks like all together. Here this is a brood chamber. As I need to underline the most important part of this modification is this is a top bar which is done from metal, and 8 to 8 size, millimeter size, 8 to 8. So this is, or in English, N-shaped top bar and metallic top bar. So they're standing all together like this, connected with together. But on the top, again, I must show we use brood chamber, or this is narrow deep frames for brood chamber, and here will be standing cross positioning. This is honey chambers. Honey chamber with honey frames, quadrate shape. You will say, what about size of quadrate shape? Quadrate frames, the size is 280 on approximately 280 quadrate. 280 on 280. So this shape is quite useful for honeybees. Very easy to collect honey in this shape of frame. And the chamber is not so big, not so heavy, so it's easier to remove. So honey chamber for a beekeeper is easier for management, much easier because of not so heavy. But if you are healthy enough, you don't worry about weight of chambers. It's possible to use bigger size, like this one. So this one. This size of chamber or frames. Again, I show you this metallic construction and metallic construction of top bar. Of course, this will be heavier. Here will be about, with honey, will be more than 3 kilos, 3.5 kilos. And then small one for honey chamber, for honey collecting in this will be about 2 kilos. And this small one will be 2 kilos honey frame, and here will be 3.6 kilos of honey. And you see, you can recognize this is a metallic top bar. Metallic top bar. This size, as I said, you can say this size 430. Also for honey collecting, and it can be used also for brood chamber, for 2 brood chambers. Or here with the size is 430, and deep 260. So these are deep and big one, but we can use also smaller size, little bit not so deep, different shape. If you like not so deep, possible to use smaller size, not so shallow. So again, you see the construction of a top bar and construction of top bar from the upper side. And what about size? Here again, for sure, here this is the size 430, and the deep 220. So this is a difference for deeper frames. These are deeper frames, and these are more shallow frames. But again, the construction of top bar is most important, the same. Metallic top bars in all frames of all different sizes. And for these sizes, just normal size of a commercially produced wax foundation is used, so you don't need to produce yourself wax foundation. All wax foundation is used here, like for this frame, is commercially produced. So you need only to press and to put it inside this N-shaped top bar. And when honeybees will be doing cells, they will cover it with the wax, and we can make small connections between frames, and it's no problem to have this connection between frames and between chambers. Here only I use the old wax foundation, so a little bit destroyed. That's no problem. This is for exposition, just for presentation. And here how it's wired. So this type of frame is called Ukrainian type of frame. Narrow, deep, or taller than broad frame. Taller than broad frame or narrow, deep frame. So you see, for closer view, the construction of top bar and the construction of top bar for our stream. N-shaped. Closer. Yes, this is visible. N-shaped top bars. And this construction is quite useful because it's easy to mount all these frames at the factory. So if you are interested to have this type of beehive, to buy this type of beehive, you can contact me on email or just on email of Vasyl Priyatelenko. I will resend your offer for Vasyl Priyatelenko. I cannot say precisely the price at the present moment because everything is changing, and logistics also is probably very complicated in the wartime, especially because of customs and so on. But if some people who just live in Ukraine or in neighboring countries can be interested in this construction, welcome to ask Vasyl about his beehives. All full 3 stories beehives are available on sale. And this is not the last, but the least, just the beginning of presentations about his beehive, because I will explain it in several presentations for easier understanding. Because better to show you the construction several times rather than to show only presentation. Because better to keep it in hands. Maybe some people can ask questions during the stream or after the stream, people asking for publications. There are several publications in English language and in Ukrainian language are available as PDF files and just as books as well. So some publications can be sent to you for presentation. So if you are interested, you can either to reconstruct this beehive yourself, or you can offer beehive from Vasyl Priyatelenko himself. He has a small apiary. He's making these beehives in his small commercial production. So this, for him, this is a small part of business, not very huge business, but he's a small businessman, by the way. But he's always friendly to invite foreign beekeepers and businessmen for his apiary to present his apiary and present his honey, high quality honey. What's that? This is a construction of a beehive. These are honey frames. These are honey frames for beekeepers, for beehive. So he's always friendly, as I said. So you can come to his apiary near Kyiv yourself if you have a car, or he can pick you just in Kyiv and bring you to his apiary for half of day for presentation, for tasting honey, and to watch for his apiary and his beehives for your own eyes, so you can understand it easier if you can see it on your own eyes. Maybe in a little bit warmer time, like a spring and summer, hopefully. But everything will be all right in the spring and summer, and all troubles in Ukraine will be going on, but somewhere else, and just will be finishing slowly in better Ukrainian position. So, but I will not tell about it too much, because we have presentation about honey, about beehives, about honeybees. So thank you for coming. Welcome to order papers of Vasyl Priyatelenko, and our papers were published in several conferences, so I can send you separate files as PDF files with description of this beehive, which are available. So it's quite easy to send it on email. So if you have questions, so you can send your order on my email. This is my email, my public email. So you can ask questions, or if you're interested in description, I send you just description in English, definitely, or in Ukrainian language, no problem. So you can read about it yourself, because now it's not so easy to find journal in PDF file in internet. Not all journals are presented in internet, so you need to ask precisely the authors about publication. If you are not familiar how to search for papers, I can send you these papers just myself for your order. Thank you for coming. I hope something was surprising and interesting for you, because I guess so not all people are familiar, for instance, about Australian honey flow beehive. Have not seen them, these beehives, on your own eyes, but they are very famous and very expensive and very useful. No, 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 no. I have seen just Australian honey flow beehive myself, together with Vasyl Priyatelenko in Istanbul. We have seen it. And no problem. We have not been surprised too much. Not too much. And the Australian honey flow beehive is not so effective for commercial production, even for your personal use in as 1, 2, 3 beehives near your honey near your house in your apiary will not be so useful as this beehive of Vasyl Priyatelenko, which needs much less costs for production and for care. You don't need to spend a lot of time like professional beekeeper. You need to visit a beehive every day, every 2 days to check what's going on. No, no, no. This beehive can be called as a little bit lazy beehive. You need just to construct it, put on the top frames in a honey chamber, and after 2-3 months, in June and in August, you need only to collect all these frames full of honey, okay, with wax and collected honey by honeybees. So, but I will explain more details in my future videos, step by step. More details will be coming in my next videos about this construction of beehive. Thank you for your coming to my channel. Thank you for your attention. It works pretty well. It's described in several publications, and it tested during the latest 11 years already. It's tested. It's not only the experience for 1, 2 years or 3 years. It's tested for over 10 years experience in apiary of Vasyl Priyatelenko. So it's well done, and it's well working. Construction of beehive and construction of beehives frames. Thank you for coming. Press like, write your comments, and Ukraine forever. Don't forget about it. Ukraine forever. If you are interested to support our channel, you can visit my Patreon page or press on the bottom join the membership of my channel. So you just drop a donation for a cup of coffee or even $1 will be very much appreciated as small donation for support of my channel. Thank you very much for my members and for my Patreon members as well. Thank you. Their names are always indicated on my new videos, my new PowerPoints. In the end of video, I indicate names of my patrons, so you can be in this list of names. Thank you for coming. Bye bye. See you soon on my channel. Welcome for the next stream about beekeeping and about entomology. Thank you for coming.